about Audre Lorde's essay, Uses of the Erotic, The Power of the Erotic, and Sonya Renee Taylor's A New Way Ordered by Love. These two essays are a great way to end our class and leave you with a message of hope to take with you out into the world and give you ideas to imagine a better world, or what a better world could look like, and move in that direction. So let's get started. I'll start by talking about Audre Lorde. So, Audre was born in 1934. She grew up in the bustling heart of New York City, the youngest of three daughters. Her older sisters, Phyllis and Helen, paved the way, but young Audre's unique voice soon stood out. She was visually impaired from a young age, nearly legally blind, so Audre's world was shaped by the stories of her mother. Her mother told her of the West Indies. She has a lot of these stories in her biomythography, Zami, if you want to check that out. They're really, really interesting and vivid. Yet their relationship between Audre Lorde and her mother was very complex, marked by colorism. Her mother was much lighter than she was. Her mother's attitude towards life was very different than Audre Lorde's, sort of a more colder, pragmatic, and that created some barriers between them. From a young age, Audre was really drawn to the elegance of symmetry. She often would alter the spelling of her name, Audre. She would drop the Y off of it, really preferring the mirrored E's on either end of her first and last names to frame her identity. So Lorde grows into an American writer, a professor, a philosopher, a poet, and an intersectional feminist and a civil rights activist. Her voice echoes the strength that grew from her early experiences. Lorde is a self-described Black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, mother, warrior, poet. That's what she would she'd come on the stage and she would say that. Emphasizes the highly intersectional nature of her identity. She often reflected on how her membership in various groups also set her apart within them. She was very devoted to fighting injustice. She rejected the idea of a hierarchy of oppressions and believed in unity among those striving for liberation and for a better future. Her poems, prose, focus on civil rights, feminism, lesbian identity, illness, disability, and the experiences of Black women. Lorde's poetry is both technically and masterful and emotionally raw. She wields language with precision, using traditional poetic forms while infusing them with deeply personal political emotion. Her work is filled with vivid imagery and embodied language. Her poems don't just describe sensation, they make us feel it. Lorde often draws on Black mythology and ancestral knowledge to ground her work in cultural memory and identity. Her poems are unapologetic in their expression of anger and outrage, especially at the civil and social injustices she witnessed throughout her life. For Lorde, poetry is not just art, it's a tool for survival, a weapon against silence, and a call to action. Her prose work, she also wrote essays, and not just poetry, although she thought of herself primarily as a poet. But some of her major works include the collected essays in the Sister Outsider essay collection, one of which we are going to look at today, which is the Power of the Erotic. She intriguingly called her autobiography a Zami. She called it a biomythography, which adds a lot of nuance and complication to the autobiographical genre. That's really interesting to think about. Lorde's life is made up of a complex layers of identity and marginalization faced by her identity as a Black lesbian woman. The quote I have here from Anua, a scholar on Lorde, highlights the intersectional discrimination experienced across different communities. Alienation from white feminists because of race, exclusion from the Black community due to sexuality, and erasure of racial identity within the lesbian community through essentialization, Additionally, Lorde had breast cancer and she had a mastectomy, and she declined reconstructive surgery, which adds yet another dimension of being an outsider, since she didn't go through what is a very common thing, is to do reconstructive so that you can still appear normal. And she's like, no, I'm changed. And she was okay with everyone in the world knowing that she was very different. And she thought if more people knew how many women were affected by this, perhaps that would be a way to kind of challenge the conditions that are perhaps contributing to the cause of this condition of the breast cancer, to really kind of tackle that. So that's why, one of the reasons that she declined it. So in some way, one way or another, she always is kind of inside and also outside of all of the social groups of which she is a part. Lorde's words from Zami further emphasize that even within these shared identities, being women or gay, black, or all combined, differences persist, underscoring the unique struggles individuals face despite commonalities within marginalized groups. In the next slide, we'll listen to Lorde read her poem, A Woman Speak, which is a poem that illustrates all of these ideas.
I've just returned from a feminist conference and book fair in London, where for a week, over and over again, I was brought or made very, very conscious of the ways in which black women and white women do not hear each other. So yet again, this is an attempt. The title of this poem is A Woman Speaks. Moon-marked and touched by sun, my magic is unwritten, but when the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind. I seek no favor untouched by blood, unrelenting as the curse of love, permanent as my errors or my pride. I do not mix love with pity, nor hate with scorn, and if you would know me, look into the entrails of Uranus, where the restless oceans pound. I do not dwell within my birth, nor my divinities, who am ageless and half-grown, and still seeking my sisters in Dahomey. Witches wear me inside their coiled cloths, as our mothers did, mourning. I have been woman for a long time. Beware my smile. I am treacherous with old magic and the noon's new fury. With all your wide futures promised, I am woman and not white.
Okay, so it's really great to hear her read it, and you get to hear her voice and feel the cadence and language of the poem. We'll talk about it just a little bit. Um, So, A Woman Speaks. In this poem, A Woman Speaks, Lorde reclaims voice, power, and presence as a black woman refusing silence. The poem blends mystical imagery with embodied strength, invoking moon darkness and ancestral spirits to position herself within a lineage of resilience and spiritual power. Lorde disrupts stereotypical expectations of femininity. I am woman and not white, asserting her identity with both tenderness and defiance. The poem's rhythm and repetition builds a sense of incantation, transforming language into a tool of liberation. Anger, sensuality, and clarity coexist here, making the poem a powerful declaration of agency and selfhood. In the final lines of A Woman Speaks, Lorde evokes the powerful metaphor of the wave. When the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind, suggesting both erasure and persistence, a body shaped by and surviving the forces of history. This imagery is not passive, it speaks to transformation through elemental ancestral force. Lorde draws on Black mythology, particularly the Dahomey women, the Dahomey warrior women. They are known to be the Amazon warriors, as emblems of matriarchal power and spiritual lineage. At the same time, she alludes to the birth of Aphrodite from the severed entrails of Uranus, a myth rooted in white Western femininity, beauty, and passivity. By referencing this image and placing it alongside her invocation of Dahomey, Lorde critiques the limitations of white femininity and centers Black womanhood that is fierce, divine, and earthbound, which contrast here is sharp and intentional, one born of blood and survival, the Dahomey, and the other a passive byproduct of mythic domestic violence. So, eroticism, we're going to move into discussion of her essay now. I thought it would be fun to look at one of her poems before we moved into the essay, to kind of look at both types of writing that she's very well known for. And the poem really does give us a good sense of who she is and the kind of poetry that she writes. And this also really informs the prose essays that she writes. So let's look at the power of the erotic. In this essay, Lorde explains that eroticism is not solely or primarily about sexuality. Rather, it stands in stark contrast to pornography. The popular conceptions of the word eroticism are far different than what it really means if you look into the history and etymology of the word. So while pornography is characterized by Lorde as plasticized sensation devoid of emotional connection, reducing individuals to mere objects of satisfaction, eroticism delves deeper into emotional and psychological realms. It fosters genuine connection and emotional attachment, emphasizing the profound over the superficial. Moreover, eroticism is frequently misunderstood and mislabeled, often being confused with concepts related to religion or mob violence. These misinterpretations stem from an outward focus, whereas true eroticism requires introspection and an inward exploration of one's feelings and connections. Eros, the Greek is a Greek word derived from the Greek, is often portrayed in popular culture as solely representing sensual and passionate love, overshadowing its profound spiritual dimensions. In philosophy and psychology, however, Lorde restores Eros to its original, broader concept, signifying life energy that fuels creativity, harmony, and deep emotional connections. Its true power lies in fostering internal knowledge and self-understanding, guiding individuals toward what genuinely resonates with them. Achieving satisfaction through Eros involves pursuing experiences that cultivate deep fulfillment and illuminate personal truths, pursuing and valuing, as Lorde says, what feels right to me. Recovering internal Eros. Lorde critiques systems that prioritize profit over genuine human needs, emphasizing how such frameworks diminish the emotional and psychic fulfillment derived from work. She argues that these systems strip work of its erotic value, reducing it to mere obligations for survival. This dehumanization turns work into a joyless task focused solely on material necessity. This is something that I brought up when we were talking about Jane Addams as well, this idea that work and existence should be more than just surviving, that it should have a deeper, more profound, or Lorde would say, an erotic connection for us as well. Lorde emphasizes the importance of deeply feeling all aspects of our lives to align them with the joy we are capable of experiencing. She highlights how erotic knowledge empowers us to critically evaluate our existence, urging us to seek meaningful and honest experiences. Lorde's essay underscores the responsibility of not settling for convenience or conventional expectations, but insisting on authenticity and safety. So, what is a good job? Lorde emphasizes that the lack of connection to the deep, passionate roots of our work often leads to dissatisfaction. She suggests that true fulfillment comes from engaging in activities that evoke a profound sense of feeling and completeness. That we have to pursue that deeper level to find meaning in our lives. So, and existing as we have been within a patriarchal social system, the erotic knowledge has often been misunderstood. It's been deemed non-rational. It's been mistrusted, devalued, and confined to limited contexts. And it's kept around its value just enough, Lorde suggests, to keep women around in order to access the benefits of Eros. And perhaps this connects to traditional conceptions of masculinity that would cut off men from accessing this themselves through themselves, just as women are more inclined to do. So this is all about social conventions, the social constructions of gender. Power of Eros and can endanger the status quo. So if it was to, if Eros was to regain power, there's this sense that the system as it is would be in danger of collapse. Mistrust of Eros hinders personal growth by discouraging self-reflection and transformation, keeping individuals submissive and compliant. Embracing Eros would thaw out this emotional numbness and help to overcome feelings of despair, self-denial, and resignation. It also fosters deep emotional connections, reducing the fear of differences and fueling the energy needed for meaningful change. So there's the sense here that reconnection with one's erotic center would inspire revolution and change. The power for change. Lorde emphasizes that embracing the erotic as a source of personal power can inspire transformative change and affirm individual identity against oppressive societal structures. So, that's the secret of Eros, is this deep power, this deep internal power for change of the individual and the system itself. And this is what Sonya Renee Taylor is going to tell us about in A New Way, Ordered by Love. So let's go ahead and look at Taylor's essay. These two are perfect to put together. So, A New Way, Ordered by Love. This is from the collection You Are Your Best Thing. In this piece, Taylor draws on her work in radical self-love and body liberation to imagine a world not shaped by fear or domination, but by love. She asks us to consider, what would it mean to reorder our systems and ourselves according to love? This question is both visionary and deeply practical. Taylor frames radical self-love not as a feel-good catchphrase, but as a revolutionary act. She introduces the idea of body terrorism, the constant societal messages that tell us our bodies are unworthy, wrong, or dangerous. These messages are rooted in systemic oppression, white supremacy, patriarchy, ableism, fat phobia. By reclaiming love for ourselves and our bodies, Taylor argues, we are resisting those systems. We return to what she calls our natural state, one of dignity, belonging, and wholeness. Which of Taylor's unapologetic agreements did you think you might like to try out? Maybe you will address one of them in your final class project. Taylor pushes us further. What if we reimagined the very systems that govern our lives? Instead of systems built on fear, punishment, and control, she calls for ones ordered by love. In practice, this means reshaping how we think about justice, not as retribution, but as healing. Education, healthcare, government, these institutions can reflect compassion and care rather than scarcity and exclusion. But this change requires radical imagination. Reform isn't enough. We have to dream something entirely new. Taylor grounds her vision for this new in the body. Healing is not a purely intellectual process. It's something we feel, breathe, and move through. It happens in community, not isolation. She reminds us that our liberation is bound together. As we practice radical self-love, we also practice care for one another. That means embracing imperfection, staying present, and committing to doing this work alongside others. Collective healing is messy, but it is necessary. In closing, Taylor leaves us with a challenge to imagine and practice a life ordered by love. What does that look like in your body, in your home, your classroom, your city? These aren't just abstract ideas, they're daily choices. We're invited to unlearn what harms us and move toward what heals us, and not just for ourselves, but for everyone. So what do you think? I look forward to reading your thoughts on Canvas.